So I make a phone call. Hello? Yep. This is Sergeant Slaughter, WWE. I'd like to have you come in for a tryout. Oh, yeah? Funny, ha ha. Hello? Yeah? This is Sergeant Slaughter at WWE. I want to know if you'd like to come in for a tryout. Who is this? Ha ha, very funny. Hey, John. Twice he hung up. The gentleman's name is Mark Calloway, better known as The Undertaker. Needs a moderator. Well, for you who may not know who I am, my name is Sergeant Slaughter, and I started professional wrestling when I was around 24, 1972, and I broke into the professional wrestling business in 1973. And my first apprenticeship was in Vancouver, Canada, where I wrestled as Beautiful Bobby. That was my wrestling name back then, but didn't go so well. I don't know why. Had long blonde hair, and I tried to look like superstar Billy Graham. I wore all the tie-dye and different colored boots and colored sunglasses, but one night in Vancouver, Canada, I was noticing that people were laughing because I was in the ring, and my trainer, Vern Gagne, up in Minnesota, told me when you're in the corner signing autographs, never look at your opponent. Have your back to your opponent. And so I kept hearing people kind of laughing and giggling, and then I turned around, and my opponent, Buck Ramstead, kind of a cowboy character, was blowing kisses to me. So I said, that's not exactly the image that I wanted to portray as Beautiful Bobby. So after I annihilated poor Bob, I went home that night, and my wife used to always make me dinner after I get home. And she said, "You're not eating much. What's wrong?" And I told her. She says, "Oh, you don't want that." I said, "No, I don't." She said, "What are you going to do?" So I get a couple of days off. I'll take care of it. So I went to the barber shop, got all my hair cut off short, and put it right beside the barber shop was a beauty shop. So I went in there, and they colored my hair back to my normal color, and came home, and my wife said, "The man I married." And she said, "Oh, what are you going to call yourself?" So I got all my black tights and everything out of my locker box that I started out trading with, and I said, "I'm going to be Bruiser Bob." So then things did, they went okay. I really enjoyed being the villain, Bruiser Bob. And then we went back to Minnesota and ended up down in Kansas City, where I started doing Sergeant Slaughter. Some of you may have seen my biography that was on A&E recently. And it was a character that I just was comfortable with when I first started being Beautiful Bobby and Bruiser Bob and just Bob Slaughter. I was very nervous, I couldn't, whenever that red light came on that camera, I just kind of froze up, and it was a horrible time for me. So I had to create a character where I could portray somebody, and that's how the Sarge got created in 1975. And I used a hole called the Slaughter Clutch, and Harley Race, one of the greatest performers in our business, came up to me and said, "Hey, kid, I like to move, but I don't like the name." And I said, "Oh, really? What would you call it?" He said, "Well, it kind of looks like a snake." So I would call it the Cobra Clutch. I said, "Yeah, I kind of like that too." That was 1975. go ahead about 11 years, 1986 or 85, I get a call from Hasbro, and they are looking for the first living G.I. Joe character in their franchise. And they had figured out it was going to either be myself, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Chuck Norris. We were the four that they were looking at. And so I ended up winning the audition and became the first living G.I. Joe, which caused some problems because I had to leave the WWE because they had a toy company called LJN, and Hasbro, which was the largest toy company in the world. The WWF couldn't understand why I'd want to be working for Hasbro and not LJN. So I said, can't we work together? Can't we do both? Then they said, no, it'd be a conflict of interest. So thanks for trying to go out there and bring a different element into professional wrestling. I said, you're serious? You're not going to let me be the first living G.I. Joe? No. You can go if you want, but you can't be here. So they figured I was going to stay because WrestleMania VI was being started. And it was, what I was told was it was supposed to be Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. So when I saw that, I had to make a big decision, and I couldn't make that decision till I had dinner again with my wife and told her my problem. And she said, well, it's pretty simple. You can always be a wrestler, but you can't always be the first living G.I. Joe. And I said, that's why you get the big bucks, honey. So I called the WWE, Vince McMahon, the next day, and I gave him my notice, which did go over so well. And so we fought tooth and nail for quite a while. And finally, I just said, well, I'm going. So he had to change up WrestleMania VI, which probably worked out even better for them because he got Mr. T to take my place. And it brought a lot of different element into the WrestleMania, which brought different celebrities and sports stars. So I don't know if I made the right decision or not. I'm sitting here still working for Hasbro and still the first living G.I. Joe. And hard to, you can never look back and say, I should have did this, I should have did that. I went with what I thought was the best for me and my characters. And so here we are, and we have two new characters coming out this year. We had one last year with Hasbro, the classified issues, and we have just announced last Tuesday that we're doing the Mad Marauders, Sergeant Slaughter Mad Marauders, that are on sale. They're pre-ordered, or you can go through Amazon, but mostly through GameStop. We're going to do a lot of work with GameStop coming up. And the other figure I can't really tell you much about. A lot of it's already kind of out there, but I can't tell you yes or no because I'm sworn to secrecy. Sign my name, saying I wouldn't say anything. So we're going to announce that in San Diego this year, the San Diego Comic-Con. And other than that, I'm just still doing what I normally do and work almost every weekend. I do a lot of these Comic-Cons and WrestleCons and toy stores, visit a lot of children's hospitals, veterans hospitals, and I really enjoy my life. And once in a while, my agent over here will give me a day off. And every once in a while, I say. So anyway, I don't know much more I can tell you. If you want to do a question and answer, is probably the best. if I haven't already answered a question that you were thinking of. So
why don't we line up the van to the microphone?
Yeah.
And you guys can ask the question one after another.
Yeah.
And we'll go from that. But I'm the moderator since one didn't show up. I don't know waiting.
Yeah.
So you see lots of people dressed like you. You see kids looking up to you. How does it feel?
Well, it puts a smile on my heart. It's just like right now, you all putting a smile on my heart because you can't see me and hear my story and ask questions. So, yeah, it's a real thrill, especially at Halloween and things like that. I'll tell you a quick funny story. I was at a friend's house one time, and it was Halloween, and it was a Saturday night, and he said, what are you doing later? I said, well, I'm just hanging out by hotel. He said, why don't you meet me over at this restaurant bar that I'm going to? They're having a Halloween party. I said, okay. So I got there, and everybody's dressed up, in costumes. So I parked my car in a parking lot, kind of hid, and put my outfit on. And I walked in, and my friend saw him, and he goes, oh, hey, Sarge, how you doing? And everybody's like, man, you look just like Sergeant Slot. And I said, oh, thanks. I've been working hard on it. And so we had a heck of a time, and somebody said, you need to enter the contest. And I thought, well, I better not because, I don't want to cheat somebody else out of the prize. So I entered it anyway, and I got second.
It's great.
So I thought that was kind of fun.
Well, you put a smile on our hearts, too.
Well, thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Was there any wrestler that you never got to work with that you wanted to work a program with?
I would have loved to have wrestled The Undertaker because I kind of brought him into the WWF, WWE. And a funny story, he was wrestling in the WCW, and I had hurt my back. Vince McMahon said, since you live in Connecticut, why don't you come up to the office? We'll find something for you to do. And so I came in my first day. I had a suit and tie on. And I walked into his office. He says, hey, Sarge, welcome. Day one. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. What do you want me to do? He said, I don't know. What do you want to do? I said, I don't know what you want me to do. I said, come on, let's go. So we go to the Office of Talent Relations, and the gentleman by the name of J.J. Dillon was running that at the time. So he said, J.J., Sarge is here to work in the office for a few weeks while he heals up. Okay, what do you think he should do? And J.J. said, I don't know. What do you think we should have him do? And that went back and forth. Finally, Vince says, you guys figure it out. And he left. So JJ gave it one of these, I guess something. Takes me in this big, huge closet room, opens up the door, turns on the lights. Not that I went into the closet. There was boxes and boxes of videotapes and letters and all kinds of things it was called the wannabe room. For people that wanted to be a manager, maybe a broadcaster, a wrestler, a valet. And so he said, why don't you go through these boxes and see if there's something there that we can use? So I got a pencil and paper, and I got a system all worked up, and the videos and monitors, and started watching. Some things I would slide in, and as soon as I saw it, I knew eject, because that they were just, wannabe wrestlers or managers or whatever, and they had no idea what the business was about. But then I ran across quite a few talents that are still working. Some are still working today, but some are legends today. X-Pac, young, good-looking kid, and I brought his video into Vince McMahon. He said, well, he's a little small, Sarge. I said, but the kid can work. He can really perform. I said, you can't always have heavyweights. You got to have lightweights too. Well, okay, bring him. And lo and behold, he did a match with Razor Ramon and beat him and became one of the biggest stars we ever had. Billy Gunn, Bart Gunn, I found them. Taz, not a bomb. I can go through hundreds of them, but the one I found was this kid down at the WCW, and he was a pretty, well-known, polished wrestler, but his letter said, I don't want to be a tag team anymore. I'd like to come up to the WWF and be a single. So I put his tape in, and as soon as I saw it, I went, "Ooh, I never saw him before. I didn't know who he was." And ejected it, put it under my arm like a football, and I dodged everybody. Get out of my way, get out of my way. Got to Vince McMahon's office. I said, I got the guy. I got him. He said, Sarge, I'm in a meeting, but if you think he's worth a tryout, bring him in. So I make a phone call. Hello? Yep. This is Sergeant Slaughter, WWE. I'd like to have you come in for a tryout. Oh, yeah? Funny, ha ha. Hello? Yeah. This is Sergeant Slaughter at WWE. I want to know if you'd like to come in for a tryout. Who is this? Ha ha. Very funny. Hangs up. Twice he hung up. So the third time I dialed, I said, you know who this is. Before you hang up on me, here's my phone number, 203-352-8600, and call me and ask for Sergeant Slaughter. And guess what? So about a half hour later, I get a call. One of the secretaries came in and said, there's a guy on the phone wants to talk to you. I said, hello? Oh, it is you. I said, yeah, that's me. Man, I thought it was just some guys pulling a joke on me. I said, no, it's really me. We'd like you to come in for a trial. He said, when do you want me to be there? I said, be in Rochester, New York, on a certain date. And if you can, just bring whatever you can to wrestle it. You'll have a tryout match, but won't air. We'll just tape it for our own use. So he comes in and introduced himself. I said, put your stuff in the extras locker room and go to catering. If you find somebody you can have a good match with, let me know. We'll get it all set up. So he goes, he's at first match, and I'm up watching the match on the monitor, and we have a mic in the referee's ear in case somebody ever gets hurt. And if you ever see this happen in a match, that means legitimately somebody got hurt. And we'll talk to them and say, how bad is it? And he'll, they have all kinds of signals. Anyway, so I'm watching the match, and all of a sudden, one of my ears of my headset go off, and I hear Vince McMahon's voice, and he goes, where did you find this guy? And I said, in a box of tapes. Send it to my office. Done. So, okay. So, gentleman comes up. How did I do? I said, I thought you did great. Vince McMahon wants to talk to you. He said, oh, did I do something wrong? I said, I think you did something right. Come on with me. So I introduced him to Vince, and he had a talk with Vince for a while. He comes back out to me. What did Vince say? Well, he liked what I was doing, and he wants me to come tomorrow night to Buffalo. I said, can you? Yeah, I can be there. I said, good. The gentleman's name was Mark Calloway, better known as The Undertaker. And so that's how he was kind of found, and I didn't create Undertaker. Vince McMahon had a meeting after Buffalo and said, this and that, this could be better, this could be better. And did anybody see the guy Sergeant Slaughter brought in? What was his name, Sarge? I said, Mark Calloway. And all of a sudden, everybody, oh, yeah, we know Mark. Well, why wasn't he brought to me before this? Oh, well, and so anyway, everybody takes the credit today that they found Mark Calloway. But so that night he said, I've got an idea. I got this dark character. I'm thinking of calling him the Paul Bear. And I went, Paul Bear? Too crazy about Paul Bear. Anyway, little by little, they talked him out of Paul Bear, and they made him the Undertaker. They brought another manager in and called him the Paul Bear. So that's how that all went down. And Yokozuna was another one that I created. And pretty much that's the story about how the Undertaker came in. And I always wanted to wrestle him. But I was we were pushing him to be the one nobody could beat. So they didn't want me to get involved in that. And so he was one that I would like to have wrestled. Brock Lesnar, I never got to wrestle him. I thought he and I would hit some great matches. Shawn Michaels as a single. I wrestled him in some tag matches, but never as a single. And, of course, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, all great talents. Would have been fun to wrestle those guys. I think we would have blew the roof off the building. Thank you.
Great. So thank you for years of entertainment as a kid.
Yes.
I loved watching you. Always my favorite was when you had a match with the Iron Sheik. The best rivalry ever. So my question is, were you guys friends out of the ring? And if so, you got any stories about the Sheik and you?
Well, when I went to the training camp, he was the class ahead of me. And I wasn't even thinking about I thought about being a professional wrestler, but had no idea how. A friend of mine was a sports writer, and his company wanted him to do a story on a pro wrestling training camp. And so he called me up, and we used to go to the wrestling matches all the time. And he said, I have to do this story. You want to go along? So I was working in my father's roofing company. So I said, Dad, is it okay if I leave early, tomorrow to go to this wrestling training camp? He goes, oh, yeah. As long as it's after like 2, 3 o'clock, we should be done. I said, yeah. They aren't starting until like 3 or 4 o'clock. He said, okay. So I went there and watching what's going on. I walk in and I look at the ring. It's an old boxing ring. It had 4 ropes, had a little light bulb in this old barn. And there was haystacks and everything around it, bales of hay and chickens and ducks and all kinds of animals in the barn. And I see all these guys working out. So as we walk closer, I noticed 4 or 5 of them I wrestled in high school. I said, if they could be professional wrestlers or try to be one, why can't I? Because I beat all them, And so I ended up standing there watching it, and the one of the coaches for Gagne noticed me, and he said, can we get a volunteer to come into the ring? I've got a sports coat on. So I know he's looking at me. You talking to me? That scene for the movie, you talking to me? So I climb in the ring, and he said, now here's a front face lock, and boom, and it trips me down on all his weight on my back, shoving my neck into my chest, and I can't breathe, and I'm like giving Uncle Sam and tap, and he let me up. And now here's another one, same thing. So I roll out of the ring, and he goes, too tough for you? Where you going? Too tough for you? No, not too tough. I just figured, let you take advantage of me. I'm not doing so well. He said, well, you think you could do better? I said, a lot better than I was doing. So he said, well, come on back in. So I get back in the ring. Now I take my sports coat off. And he says, get down on all fours in the wrestling amateur wrestling position. We'll see how good you are. So I do, and he yells out, "Hey, Rick, you get on him." Rick gets on me. I wrestled Rick in high school, and I looked up the roof of the barn, and I went, "There is a God. There's a God." So Rick gets on me, and he whispers in my ear, "Take it easy on me, Pop." And I'm like, "No way." So when Virginia said wrestle, I pinned Rick. Well, that went over like a brick going through a window. That didn't go over so well. And so Rick gets up, and Rick was Ric Flair of today. And so he went off to the corner, and so Virginia said, "Ken, you get on it." Ken Patera, who was just out of the Olympics, won a silver medal in weightlifting. So he said, "You get on it." So he said, "Wrestle." Now, I knew right before he said wrestle, there's no way I could pin this guy. I mean, his arms were like that big, but I escaped from him. I said, all I want to do is escape from him. So I escaped from him. I'm looking down at him. He's still on the mat. And that was another brick that went into the window. That didn't go over so good either. So now there's another professional wrestler by the name of Billy Roberts sitting on top of the turnbuckle. Billy was the British Empire Heavyweight Champion. He had one glass eye, one most eye that wasn't real, and pure jet black hair. And he jumps down, and his jaw is much bigger than mine. And he walks around me a couple times and said about every profanity word that's in the vocabulary in my ear. And he said, "Get down on all fours." So when I did, he dropped his shin against the back of my leg, tried to break my foot for me. Well, the first thing I thought about was my father being on that roof the next morning all by himself, because I couldn't get up on the roof. I can't climb a ladder with a broken foot. And so I kind of went into a zone I'd never been in before. And I went after Billy. Billy was considered what we call in our business a shooter. Yeah, he could, other than professional wrestling, he could make a living being an amateur wrestler. So we were going at it, and I tried to pull out his good eye, much less his other eye. And we were going at it pretty heavy, and I got the advantage on Billy. And Virginia saw that, so he broke us apart. He got all the other wrestlers. I was okay. That's it. So off I go, out of the barn, and here comes Virginia. "Kid, where'd you learn how to fight like that?" I said, I don't know. I don't know where I said, that wasn't me. That was somebody else. I was in another world. And he said, "Well, what's your name?" I told him my name. "My name's Bob Remus." And he goes, "Remus? Your dad's name Rudy Remus?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, he put the roof on my house." I said, "I know, Vern. I helped him put the roof on." He said, "Oh, God, I love your dad. Give him a hug." And is he doing? "Yeah, everything's good." He said, "Well, if you want to be a professional wrestler, I think you got what it takes, but I can't put you with these guys. They're 10 weeks behind. It wouldn't be fair to you. So maybe next year if you want to try it." So I go home and tell my dad. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you should do it. I don't want you to be a wrestler the rest of your life. Go try it." And so then I go home that night and tell my wife, "I'm going to be a professional wrestler." And she said, "The hell you are." I said, "The hell I'm not." She said, "The hell you are." I said, "The hell I'm not." And I wouldn't be sitting here today if those words hadn't been exchanged, because every time I wanted to quit, no matter if it was wrestling training camp or anything I ever did in my life, all I remember is, "The hell you are. The hell I'm not." And that motivated me to not ever stop or give up. So it's kind of what happened. Yeah. Thanks.
Hi, Sarge. I would like to know who would win between the wrestling Sergeant Slaughter and the G.I. Joe Sergeant Slaughter if they win in a match.
I'd have to put my money on G.I. Joe. Yeah. Yeah, 'cause we can draw the sergeant to their winning. Yeah. Yeah, it would be a pretty good battle. That's a good question. Be a good question. The Sergeant Slaughter of wrestling was a pretty tough SOB. I had a match with Pat Patterson. I don't know if a lot of you have seen it, but it's called the Alley Fight. It was the first of its kind, and I don't think I've ever seen one since, where we kept getting disqualified or having count-outs. Never a decision. So Vince McMahon's father said, we got to get this settled once and for all. We're going to put you in an alley fight. I said, what's an alley fight? He says, well, that's where you wear anything you want, do anything you want, no time limit, and there's no referee, so you can't knock the referee down and get disqualified. I said, okay, I'm ready. So we're getting ready to have this match at Madison Square Garden, and I said to my manager, the Grand Wizard of Wrestling was my manager when I first went to the WWF. I called him the General. So about 20 minutes before we to go out and have the match, I said, General. He said, yes, Sergeant. No referee, anything goes. We're what we want. No disqualification, no count out. How does this match end? He goes, that's a good question, Sergeant. And he took off and left. And he came back. He said, don't worry about it. I got it taken care of. Just go in there and do what you got to do. I said, okay. So Pat Patterson and I had this match. And Pat gave me what we call a slingshot. I went over the top of the turnbuckle and I hit the ring post. And as soon as I felt the burn of my head hitting that ring post and seeing the blood gushing out of my head, the first thing I thought was my wife, because she was on her way to New York City that night to give me my birth certificate, because Vince McMahon wanted me to go to Japan, and I didn't have a passport. So we're planning to go all over New York, and I thought, how is she going to find me? What hospital is she going to find me at? She might find me in a morgue the way I was bleeding. So anyway, I would quit. I'd be outside the ring. I'd be coming back in, throw me out. I'd be coming back in. And I was getting my second win. And all of a sudden, at the corner of my eye, I see this object fly. And I looked at it, and it fell down. I wonder what that was. So I go back to get back in the ring again, and all of a sudden that object goes over the top rope into the ring, and it was a towel. Then I looked at my manager standing there and saying, "That's it." I said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm not done. I'm just getting started, man." And so they rang the bell and let Pat Patterson be the winner. But that being said, it made Sergeant Slaughter to everybody in that Madison Square Garden audience. And those who were in the forum that couldn't get into the garden, they were watching it on a big screen, and everybody in the world that was watching that, they said, that's one tough son of a gun right there. And it created Sergeant Slaughter to be what he is today. And whether it was meant to be or not, it happened. And here I am. And I don't think I've ever seen another match like it. They show that match at training camps, not only in the United States, but in Japan, in Europe. They say this is a professional wrestling match that you need to watch because there's no referee. And it's pretty hard to have a match without a referee because there's nobody there to tell you to do this, do that, do this, do that. So you just have to do it. So that became a I don't know what you would call it, but it's knock on wood. It's a pretty cool deal to know that wrestlers that first starting in this business got to see that if they hadn't seen it before. So,
Thank you.
good question. I think it would be a draw. Actually, I think it'd be that.
Yeah. Hello there, Sergeant Slaughter. My question to you is, were there any favorite wrestling matches that you loved that you would like to go over to show to your family? And is there any other wrestlers, probably the international world, that you would consider a worthy rival for you?
Yeah, there's a lot of the alley fight, of course. As I said, it was the only one I ever knew about. There wasn't one before that, and hasn't been one since. I don't know if that's out of respect to Pat Patterson and I, but I've been waiting and waiting for somebody to have an alley fight and show the alley fight from 1982 or 81, whatever it was, and say, this was a match back in 1981. But you two got it. You've broken the rules. You're doing this, you do that. You're going to have an alley fight. They've never done it. So I guess it's out of respect. International wrestlers, a different style. I went over to Europe, to Austria one time, Graz, Austria, and I wrestled Otto Waltz. He was a 450-pound wrestler, but they wrestled rounds like boxing. And you would wrestle for 5 minutes, and they would ring the bell. And you're supposed to stop, you go back to your corner, and you'd have somebody would give you some water and wipe you down and encourage you and whatever. And we had a 10-round match at 5 minutes each round. And of course, as a villain, when you would hear the bell ring and you maybe had a guy in a hole, you wouldn't always stop. You keep going and keep going. Pretty soon the referee said, you got to break it. With about 20 seconds left in the rest period, you'd let go, walk over to your corner, get a drink of water, the bell would ring, and now you'd go back. So it was a unique style of rounds as a professional wrestling match. And so Tito Santana one time called me up. He said, there's a gentleman in Chicago that wants to start a wrestling league up, but he wants something different. And I said, I got just the thing. So we started the American Wrestling Federation. I don't know if any of you saw it out of Chicago, but we had some of the great legends of today wrestling in that organization. It was so much fun because one match could go almost to an hour because you would have a break every time the bell would ring at the end of a round. So it got to be pretty exciting. But the poor guy, the promoter, ran out of money, so we didn't get to continue. I'd like to see that happen again. European wrestlers have a different style. And I really enjoy the European style. Yes.
And you can wrestle 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, you could wrestle 2 hours. Yeah.
So, do you have any camps?
I have wrestled 2 hours.
Really? Do you have any camps or charities or foundations that you leave, to train other people or children?
No, I worked for the Cancer Society. My mother passed with cancer.
Tell you that.
So anytime I do an event and I don't charge, I have the donations go to the Cancer Society. Yeah, there's a few others that Make-A-Wish and things like that. But it's just to me, it's an art. It's fun. I don't want to charge anybody for anything.
Oh, so you're not thought about starting one?
The what?
You ever thought about starting a camp?
Yeah.
You have? No?
No, I don't have any wish to go to be a instructor for a camp.
Oh, so your kids don't do it?
My daughter wants to be a wrestler, but she's getting up in age. She does the racing where you go through the Spartan racing, the Spartan. So she does that, but that's a whole lot different than getting into a wrestling.
So have you done any other kinds of fighting besides wrestling, like boxing or?
I don't do any boxing. I boxed a little bit in high school so I could protect myself because we lived in a pretty rough part of town when I left the farm and got up to Minneapolis, and I had to walk to school every day, a mile one way and back.
Another mile. Wow, that's a long. Yeah, walking a mile is a long distance.
I had to fight for my life most of the time getting back home.
So you were picked on growing up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everyone would do that in high school and grammar school. I've been there.
Yeah. Thank you. Sergeant, got okay.
Oh, yes. Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to know if you're familiar with the dubs of the old G.I. Joe PSAs that gone around YouTube over the years.
Yeah, I watch them all the time.
Nice.
Yeah. I really enjoy them. I really enjoy them. Thank you.
If you could have one more match, who would it be against and why?
My agent right there. Sure. To get some time off. No, I guess if I had an opportunity to wrestle one person, I'm trying to think of somebody that's still living, but probably Triple H. Triple H. He's old school and is working really hard to get wrestling back to the old school style. It got too far way out of believability. And, I mean, what can you do? Get up on top of a building to make somebody, clap? We didn't have to do that. We just told the story in the ring. Yeah.
So my father's too afraid to come up here and ask you this question.
Oh.
Your character is all about the military and patriotism. Was it hard for you personally to turn heel and be an enemy of America for a time? Or was it just kind of something that, you had to do?
Well, I was in G.I. Joe for 6 years. I went and watched any wrestling, especially the WWF, because they made me leave, basically. And so I didn't watch it. So I've started getting my contracts were getting over with Hasbro. So one night I was in Cleveland, Ohio, and I saw in my hotel pay-per-view advertisement. And there was WrestleMania VI. So Hulk Hogan against the Ultimate Puke, the Ultimate Warrior. And so I said, maybe I'll watch it. So I called down to see how I could get it on my TV, and she told me, so I put it on. And the first thing I saw was the production. They were in Toronto, Canada. And it looked like there was 1 million people in the building. But when I left WWE, we had maybe 1 or 2 cameras. That's all we had. And now there's like 20, maybe more cameras. And so I got a pencil and paper out of the drawer of the hotel desk. Dear Vince, just watched your WrestleMania 6 from Toronto. Sergeant Slaughter salute on the production. Never seen anything like it. Hollywood could, take some advice from you. Sincerely, Sarge. And I put P.S. the match between Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. I put 2 big letters, P.U. And about 2 weeks later, I get a call. I'm watching a NASCAR race on a Sunday, kind of half dozing off. Hello, Sarge? Yes, Vince. Oh, hey, Vince, how you doing? I got your note. Appreciate your feedback on our production. We've been working really hard on all that. And he said, and I agree about the match. It was a stinkeroo. I said, yeah, I just telling it like it is. He said, you ready to go back to work? And I said, well, my contract's coming up. He said, yeah, I know. That's why I'm calling. And I said, well, it's funny you should know that. He said, that I need to know those things. So if you're ready to go back to work, I got an idea for you. So again, I'm at dinner with my wife. So going to Vince McMahon's house tomorrow. She had this big idea. And I think he's going to take Sergeant Slaughter and G.I. Joe, the real American hero, and make him the real American hero. And she says, okay, good. So when I got there, of course, it was like Vince and I had never had a problem. And he gave me a hug. He'd come on in and takes me in his library and shows me a layout of the L.A. Coliseum. He said, that can fill 104,000, and I want you and Hulk Hogan to sell it out. I want to beat the Detroit pay-per-view record, WrestleMania 3. I'm in. How are you going to turn Hulk Hogan into the villain? He goes, no, I want you to be the villain. You want G.I. Joe, Sergeant Slaughter, to be a villain? He goes, yeah, I want you to be an Iraqi sympathizer. Excuse me? An Iraqi sympathizer? Yeah, here's my idea. So he laid out the whole thing. Then he goes, what do you think? I said, it's going to be a little hot. He said, well, why don't you talk to your family about it? You don't have to say yes. I said, oh, okay. But as soon as I left, I said, yeah, I want to do it. Just being a villain was my favorite thing. So I got home and told my wife, and she said, are you out of your mind? Not only are you going to get killed, you're going to get all of us killed, Right? You sympathize, you're G.I. Joe. So I said, well, let's give it a shot. She said, well, you've already made the decisions for your character. You go ahead and go. So we went, and I told Vince that if I'm going to do this, I got to do it all the way. He said, if you do anything too far over, I'll bring it back. So we did a lot of rough things. One time we got a picture with our limo driver, and it was on a blue wall. And as soon as the picture was done, we got the driver out of there, and we got a picture of Saddam Hussein, and we put him in there. And it looks like we just had lunch together. So I showed that on television, and Vince calls up, Sarge, we can't show that picture. Has lost all my studio, my TV stations, and half my sponsors. They wonder what's going on. A few things we went over the line. Anyway, that's how I became the Iraqi sympathizer, and it was really tough for me. But when they asked me to burn the American flag, I said, no, I'm not burning the American flag. My uncles and a few of my aunts served in the military. And a lot of my friends, lost a few friends over in Vietnam. I said no. And I said, I'll tell you what, why don't we take Hulk Hogan's shirt, put that on a flag, and I'll say this represents Americana, and I'll light that on fire. So we did that. That was tough enough. There's no way. But the problem is when I wasn't there, they said I burnt the American flag out behind the building. They said, Gene Okerlund is doing a promo, and he had a IB mic in his ear. And he goes, hold it, hang on. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Sergeant Slaughter's out behind the building burning the American flag. And there's nothing I could do, but it was done. So I had a lot of people pretty mad at me and wanted to destroy me and kill me, my family, and Vince McMahon's family, and all our homes and businesses, cars. Again, okay. Thank you.
Well, thanks.
Appreciate you all being here. I'll be signing until about 6:00 down in the signing area. If anybody wants to come by, and if you got the, I don't know what to say, but if you get a Cobra clutch, you never know. You can earn your fellows points. There you go. Thank you for being here. Yeah, sorry we didn't have more time.
Hey there, this is Nolan North, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Good for you. Very proud of you. Now go watch more. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.